Hey guys, welcome back to Norman's Garage. I know I skipped a couple weeks because of the holidays, and then coronavirus hit me and actually hit me pretty hard, put me down for like a week. This is pretty badass. To be honest with you, looking at stuff like this, you know, I never thought I'd be able to afford stuff like this, and it's pretty badass. So first thing, you know, you see I've got a Speedfactory forward-facing manifold now. They were kind enough to go ahead and integrate the individual widebands, individual EGT bungs here, and I also have back pressure ports. It's going to use a single 60mm wastegate, and we got position sensor and all there. And then I have a big Speedfactory Sport front wheel drive 6-inch thick intercooler here, and they were also nice enough to go ahead and incorporate my LPS Fab Alpha Lock couplers there. So that's a 3.5 out and a 3-inch in, so those I can go ahead and not have to worry about the intercooler side of things. Now, something that's different from most of you guys have seen and different from when I was running last year is the turbo itself. So I am still staying 67mm. This is actually started life as a Gt45 Garrett that was cut to a 67, and to be honest with you, the compressor wheel was just not up to par, and the turbo never really worked right. So sent it off to Reed at Work Turbo, and he has us made in here a next gen wheel, and it's got the ramp just like the Precision next gen wheel and all that, and he thinks it's going to make some serious steam. And to make sure that we don't have any back pressure, I've got a nice Tial. Oh, compressor's trying to move. Of course, everything moving. I have a nice Tial 130 V-band exhaust housing. So also the volume entry on this is much bigger than what I was running before as far as the actual like entry to the turbine. So that seems like it's going to handle exhaust back pressure a lot better too. Everything's contoured a lot better with this Tial, and also it saves a lot of weight of the turbo, because one thing with the Garrett turbos, the older style, you know, all this stuff is steel. It's heavy, so cutting a little bit of weight there. So I'm really excited to see what this turbo does. Reed, you know, Work turbochargers. If you guys don't follow them, go look at their stuff. You know, a lot of people record breaking stuff in the domestic world. Reed does most of their turbos, you know, kind of like the forced induction guys as well. So he seems really confident in this compressor wheel. He says, you know, my back pressure was never too high to where this shouldn't be a problem, and jumping up to this housing is going to make it that much better even. If you guys also look, you know, he contoured my housing really nicely. That wheel is one badass wheel. You know, the other Garrett wheel was just out of steam quickly. It wasn't really profiled very well. He's got a nice new big ported shroud compressor in there, ported shroud groove in there, and then he has built this badass compressor wheel. And if you look, it is the same as the next gen in regard of the actual inducer ramp, as we call it. You know, I'm surprised that the techs are still allowing this, but it does say just one smooth contour. So the housing actually, you know, is up to there, really not there. And then if you look, the secondary blades are a lot bigger as well. And the secondary blades, the way he machined this, the secondary blades actually start right in the compressor groove. So same thing as the next gen and everything else. Really looking forward to seeing how this goes. And, you know, if this works really well and we max it out, but it works well, you know, I'll contact Reed and get him to build me a turbo from scratch, rather than, you know, kind of adding on to something and seeing where he takes us. You know, I know a lot, like the Revolution guys are doing really good stuff. There's lots of different good turbo people out there, and but I really have been liking Work Turbo, and I'm really excited to, you know, see where this goes. So then next off, you know, I just have my same old Pro J manifold here with a K-tune throttle body. This is the manifold I've been running for a couple years now. I really like it. I really like that the dual injectors are on top of the manifold, and you know, it's always worked really well, and it looks good to me, especially with my other, you know, all my other powder coated black stuff. I really like it. So enough of me talking. I'm gonna go ahead and mock some of this stuff up on the car. I have a mock-up engine set up in here just so I can mock up stuff and get spatial awareness. You know, obviously, see, I already have Motion Raceworks roll bar coil mount there for my smart coils. and went ahead and made a bracket for my fuel pressure regulator there. Made sure there too that it looks bad, but you can actually still get my brake master cylinder in there. So got to make sure spatial awareness on stuff like that, because otherwise you will really screw yourself and not know it. All right, so now it's into, you know, putting the mock-up turbo manifold and everything else on there and getting some spatial awareness there. Yeah, that we are. I didn't trust it there for a minute. And one thing that I do like about having all Vband stuff, not only is it lighter and that towel housing isn't going to rust, but also just your flexibility on everything. You know, as far as being able to clock it, everything, every which position. I can clock my center cartridge, every single thing can be clocked at different positions, and I really like that. See about moving that down. Alright, it's definitely a different angle, and I had to angle the turbo down a good bit. So it seems like basically these bars for my aero plates and for my bumper supports are blocking me. So to get that angle difference off and everything else, I think I'm actually going to space this intercooler upward some. Probably about a ½ inch or so. Still not figured it out yet. Sorry y'all, I'm still short of breath from the coronavirus. It's still kind of hard to breathe. But alright, so that's just if you guys hear me breathing over the camera. So I think I'm going to space this up about a ½ inch. That'll push this out and let me be able to twist this turbo up. I think I've got some sort of, you know, some sort of stock aluminum squares or something I can use, like, you know, mill stock or something. Now let's go ahead and throw our intake manifold on here so we see. Maybe I'll do it under. I love the Alpha locks, by the way. So simple and always work. All right, so that's gonna have clearance there, and that's good. You're gonna have clearance on your fuel pressure regulator. And sorry, I just want to look at this. I don't know if you got that does any justice, but it looks pretty badass. I definitely like the fact that I'm going forward facing right now. You know, it's top mount forever. It looks like I got a bunch more room. Got my radiator over there. I'm definitely going to have to refigure out how that mounts to. Once I do some blocks on the bottom of this, I actually earlier found this piece of metal, so I should be able to actually cut this and weld some blocks on the bottom of it. And then I'll thread these blocks and actually be able to bolt through the bottom of the weight plate, so that way the intercooler is nice and secure. Then I don't really need to use those. So that's really cool. And then exhaust and up pipes wise, so the easiest route would be come straight up here. However, sorry about my breathing again, y'all. The easiest route would be to come up right here. However, the old hole in my, hood, I want to buy a new hood. My old hole in my hood is right over here. So I actually have my boy Brandon Reggie built, making me a new plate and a new two new teardrop tips for the 4-inch up pipe, and then the 2.5 for the wastegate. So I'm going to try to come around the back through here and make my way up and over and out to right here where it used to be. With some pie cuts and stuff, I don't see why it can't work. I mean, it looks like there's room even once the wastegates and all in there. So all that looks really badass. I really like it. So really, I just wanted to make sure I didn't have to do too much modification to my weight plate or anything else there. I'll do everything else after it gets back from paint. So now I need to focus more on firewall stuff.